Hey everybody, welcome back to James Draws Everything, drawing every country in the world's flag, and first episode of 2025, so Happy New Year. And with that said, the country we're going to be doing today, returning to the Middle East, and we're going to be doing Jordan. Alright, so Jordan, it does border Israel. It's kind of between Israel and Saudi Arabia, and it's got, of course, a very, very long history. So I think you'd have to say that modern Jordan, that kind of starts post World War I. But of course, this is the Holy Land, so the history stretches back much, much further than that. So we'll try to do what we can to cover most of it. Of course, we're going to leave some of this stuff out, but I'll do the best that I can to bring you up to speed on that. So you've definitely seen flags similar to this on my channel, right? This is a very common flag in the Arab world, like this kind of design, the black, white, red, green kind of combo. And we'll get to that in due time. So this is actually also not just home to kind of early Arabic peoples or Christians, or like this is home to some of the earliest civilizations, period, right? So this part of the world, a lot of nomadic peoples, and they start settling down and kind of creating the first, what we would actually just call, civilizations, right? Instead of people just being nomadic hunters and gatherers. So they settle in this region, and it's called Jordan after the river, the Jordan River. And it does have a river, but other than that, it's a very arid place. So let's see, I'm going to extend this a little bit further out. Not very rich in natural resources, but still kind of at an important crossroads in the Arab world, and that's kind of put it in between many different powers over the years. So very early on, they're taken over by the Egyptians. So this is kind of like pre-Iron Age, like still Bronze Age here. Moving more into the Iron Age, this place, the Egyptians kind of bail, and what becomes Jordan splits into 3 separate kingdoms, right? And this is even kind of talked about in the Bible. And these Jordanian peoples were kind of labeled like the enemies of Israel, and of course that's going to cause problems, leading pretty much right up until current times. But there is some commonality there between the people, right? So, for example, Esau, the brother of Jacob, he called one of these 3 kingdoms his home. Right, so it's a little bit more complicated than it appears to be. It's not just good guys and bad guys or anything like that. This land does become kind of a hot potato, bounce back and forth between many greater powers over several centuries. So you have the Assyrians here. You have the Babylonians. You've got the Persians. You've got the Greeks. You got everybody under the sun. Well, not everybody, but those are the big ones. And then in about 100 AD, the height kind of the Roman Empire, so that's when you get Roman influence. in Jordan. And because of that influence, the Jordanian Christian people there, they actually build some of the very first Christian churches in the world. So if you are a Christian, this place is very important. We know that Christianity in the Middle East, very touchy subject today, right? It's wouldn't say it's extinct, but maybe it's on the endangered species list, to put it that way. You do have some treaties, though, going back hundreds of years that actually do protect some of the Christian peoples that are in this area, right, to allow them to still worship and practice Christianity. So at the same time this is going on, right, you have a bit of a split in the Christian churches, right? So you have the Romans, and then kind of the Byzantines sort of becomes like the Eastern Christian church. So this place kind of falls more under like the Byzantine sort of sphere of influence. And the Byzantines, they have a lot of issues with the Persians, right? And we just talked about that yesterday, right, in our Greek episode. So there's a lot of wars between the Byzantine Empire and the Persians. Jordan kind of gets caught in the middle of that. And then in the 7th century, this is where you start to see like the rise of Islam, right, the Muslim world. So the Muslims really increased their presence in the Arab lands, and that kind of drives out a lot of the Christians, and you see a series of caliphates take over this part of the world. And again, this is very, very broad strokes, right? So it's not just one caliphate, it's several different ones, and this is over hundreds of years. So trying to cover centuries of history in one red triangle before I get to the other. All right, there we go. So now that red triangle's done, no, I didn't plan it that way. So this area sees a bit of a decline, right? The area that is, modern Jordan is kind of neglected by their Islamic rulers. You do have a period after that where the Knights of Europe, right, Crusaders, try to retake the Holy Lands. So Jordan is caught up in that. And then also a period of Mamluk kind of control, right? So those were kind of like Egyptian sort of backed, I guess you could call it like a slave revolt, but that's, we don't talk about the Mamluks too much. That's gets way more complicated. But yeah, they have an interest in this part of the world as well. And then kind of getting more into modernity, this is where you see the rise of the Ottoman Empire, right? So the Turks, very broadly speaking, the Turks of the Ottoman Empire establish control over, this part of the Arab world. And the Jordanian peoples, they were already kind of a neglected region, class, whatever you want to call it. They do not feel respected by their Ottoman masters, right? Because the Ottomans are heavily taxing their peoples, right? So it's not just like a religious thing or anything like that. There's a lot more going on, and again, all these Middle Eastern feuds often way more complicated than they're kind of given credit for. The British are starting to make their move in this part of the world in like the 19th century, right? So there's oil there, but again, that's not the only reason. There's a lot of just kind of sort of old school liberalism, right? That they want to see these people revolt against their cruel masters, or whatever you want to call it. And you can say, James, that's awfully hypocritical, because Britain was, look what they were doing in India and the rest of their colonies. And yeah, you can certainly make that argument, right? And a lot of Arab nationalism kind of comes out of just kind of British fanning the flames, right? So going into World War One, kind of in the background of World War One, you have an Arab revolt, right? So this is kind of the Ottoman Empire's last song and dance, right, before several factors cause it to collapse. And you have this guy T.E. Lawrence, right? And you've heard of Lawrence of Arabia. He helps a lot of these people, break free of the chains. And a lot of people just know this guy from like movies and stuff. A little bit more complicated than that, of course. And he was actually kind of like a clown, Lawrence of Arabia. Like trying to think of like a modern example of who you could liken him to. But yeah, it was like, who's this this British guy wearing like Arab clothes and like really just like getting into it, cosplaying, I guess you would say. He was like cosplaying as an Arab. So he was romanticized much later on in history. But yeah, he was kind of a bit of a dope, like in he was seen as one in that time, right? So if you just get your history from movies and stuff, you should always kind of look more into things. And geez, I'm almost done with the flag, and I haven't even gotten into modern Jordan yet. So let's see, what else can we do here? I know I'll be really slow with my erasing and my drawing my borders here. So going into the modern state of Jordan, right after World War One, the Ottoman Empire does collapse, and then the League of Nations awards Great Britain this region, so they get a mandate known as Transjordan, and this also included some surrounding areas as well. And Transjordan, so this place was very progressive early on, right? No, that's not what it means. It actually kind of more just means like sort of beyond Jordan, and like connecting different Arab lands across and beyond. No, it doesn't mean what trans means now. Sorry to burst your bubble there. So they create that kind of semi-autonomous region, right? And there's always kind of like a plan to have these countries become independent nation states, but that's going to cause some problems too, because the nation state is not an Arab thing. That is much more of like a European sort of export to this part of the world. So we do have a lot of problems with its neighbors, especially Israel, right? So Saudi Arabia also has some issues with Jordan. They set up a kingdom there, the Hashemite family, and that pretty much rules until the modern day. The 1920s, you have some Wahhabis from Saudi Arabia try to push them out. The country of Jordan gains its full independence in 1946, right? And they've had 4 kings since then from that family. It's still the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan. And then as things kind of, become tense with Israel, kind of leading into modernity post-World War II, the creation of the Israeli state, that causes a lot of issues with their neighbors as well. So Jordan is part of a lot of these wars that were declared against Israel. And they, kind of assist the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. There, I eventually got it right. But this causes problems in their own country as well, right? Because you get a lot of PLO influence that kind of pours into Jordan, right? Anytime there's a crisis in the Arab world, it pours over into the neighboring states, and that causes problems, right? So Jordan gets a little hesitant about all this PLO influence that's kind of causing trouble in their own country, right? So they don't want that happening. You have a lot of outside pressure from like the United States, Britain, the Soviet Union, right? Because this is also a Cold War battleground. So it's not just wars of religion, as like like a college freshman would tell you, trying to oversimplify this stuff. No, there's a lot of Cold War issues there as well. A lot of pan-Arabism, right? That's mainly rooted in Egypt, but supported by the Soviets. That causes issues here. There's a civil war in 1970, kind of against the monarchy, but they oust the militants. The monarchy remains. Its borders have changed a whole bunch of times since independence, right? So a lot of this has to do with like the West Bank, Palestinian support, and then not support, and then support, and then not support for like independence in that area. In much later on, so like the late 80s, King Hussein relinquishes claims to the West Bank, and then in 1994 they sign a treaty with Israel, right? Finally, and so that is Jordan. All right. There's a little bit more we can talk about too, right? So why not? Right? It's a very complicated place. We have a lot of history to cover here. And so as far as where it is today, it is a upper middle income, like Arabian state, right? It's not like like one of these Gulf states where they're just ridiculously rich off of oil and whatnot. But it's not a backwater, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens, as far as what happens going forward with this country, right? Because Lebanon, we know that Lebanon was once, a beautiful place for tourism, very rich civilization, and that place is an absolute mess now because of all the spillover from the Israeli conflict, and we know what happened in Syria. So Jordan can claim relative stability right now, but with what goes on in the Middle East, who knows, right? But we wish them nothing but the best. And again, they do have a treaty that was actually signed in the 7th century, the Pact of Omar, where the Muslim leaders, after conquering Jerusalem, actually agreed to permit Christian worship, in what is now Jordan. So they still honor that. So again, it's a whole lot of hot spots, right? A lot of people say that this group doesn't like that group, and they don't like this group. But then when you look into it, it's gets a lot more complicated than that. But speaking of getting complicated, right? This is getting too complicated for me. I can't wait till I'm done with the Middle East because I got to do a lot of homework for these ones, right? But I think we've only got let me think. We still got to do Iraq. We have to do Yemen, and that might be it, actually. So we're almost done with the Middle East. Hey, you know what? We're also almost done with the entire world. So I think we've only got about 40 left. So we're going to be finishing up early here in 2025. So let me know what you think about this place. Like, comment, and subscribe. And also have a Happy New Year. And I will catch you on the next episode. Whoa. Hold on a minute. I almost forgot. So I finished up my episode, and then I just realized, because this place gets so complicated, I didn't tell you guys what the flag is about. All right. So again, you kind of seen these colors. They're, in a lot of Arabic flags. So the black represents the Abbasid Caliphate. The white represents the Umayyad Caliphate, and then the green is the Fatimid Caliphate. And the red isosceles triangle represents the Great Arab Revolt of 1916. And then it's got a 7-pointed white star in the middle. And that symbolizes the 7 verses of the opening surah of the Holy Quran. And the 7 points on the star also represent faith in one God, humanity, national spirit, humility, social justice, virtue, and aspirations. So it's loosely based on the Arab revolt flag of World War I. So, see, yeah, you thought I forgot, but I remembered. So again, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next episode.